Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Devyani International's earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and anyone who wishes to ask a question may enter star and one on their touchtone phone. To remove yourself from the question queue, please enter star and two. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Anup Pujari from CDR India. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Devyani International's Q2 and H1 FY22 earnings conference call. We have with us Mr. Ravi Jaipuria, Chairman of the company, Mr. Raj Gandhi, Non-Executive Director, Mr. Virag Joshi, CEO and Whole-Time Director, and Mr. Manish Dawar, CFO and Whole-Time Director of the company. We would like to initiate the call with opening remarks from the management, following which we'll have the forum open for a question and answer session. Before we begin, I would like to point out that some statements made in today's call may be forward-looking in nature, and a detailed statement in this regard is available in the results presentation shared with you earlier. I would now request Mr. Ravi Jaipuria to make his opening remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. I warmly welcome you all to our maiden earnings conference called post-listing to discuss the operating and financial performance for the quarter and half year ended September 30th, 2021. I hope you and your families are keeping safe and healthy. As you are all aware, we successfully completed our initial public offering in August, which received a strong response from the investor community. The IPO has brought on board marquee global and domestic investors from across the spectrum of FIs, mutual funds, and insurance companies, and a large number of retail investors. I would like to welcome all our new shareholders and thank them, our bankers, business partners, and employees for their wholehearted support and the trust that all of you have reposed in us for the success of our IPO. The proceeds have augmented our financial strength, and we are now a net debt-free company. I am also pleased to inform you that the DIL has had a PAT positive quarter two, and we expect to continue with the same performance with normalized post-COVID conditions improving further. As this is our first investor and analysis interaction post-listing, I would like to take this opportunity to briefly introduce our company. Following this, Manish will take you through the operational and financial highlights for the quarter. Incorporated in the year 1991, Devyani is a multi-dimensional, comprehensive QSR player in India. We have a portfolio of well-recognized global brands across the spectrum and present in key consumption markets. We are the largest franchisee of Yum brands in the domestic market and are among the largest operators of chain QSR restaurants on a non-exclusive basis in the country. We are also the franchisee for Costa Coffee in India. Our business is broadly classified into three verticals. The first is our core brand business, which includes stores of KFC, Pizza Hut, and Costa Coffee that is operated in India. The second is the international business that includes stores operated outside India, primarily comprising KFC and Pizza Hut stores in Nepal and Nigeria. Third is the other business that includes stores of our own brands such as Vaango and Food Street. The core brands across our portfolio constitutes more than 90% of the total business in DIL consolidated. Yum is amongst the largest QSR companies in the world with more than 50,000 outlets in over 150 countries. We began our multi-decade long relationship with them in the year 1997, when we commenced operations of our first Pizza Hut store in Jaipur. The win-win association with Yum over the last 25 years, together with our operational expertise, has enabled us to establish and grow our presence in the QSR space in India. I believe QSR industry in India is at an inflection point supported by macro tailwinds of rising urbanization and literacy rates, women's participation in workforce, and with younger working population, the propensity to consume food outside home and grown manyfold over the last few years. The food service industry is expected to grow at a CAGR of 12 to 15% in future. QSR, being the largest constituent of this segment, will be a key beneficiary and will lead this growth. The Western QSR brands have firmly established themselves in the food service space in the Indian market, and we believe DIL, with its multiple strong and well-recognized Western and Indian QSR brands, stand to gain the most as we continue to expand our footprint in India. Further, COVID-19 has accelerated the consolidation in the food services industry in favor of larger organized players and well-established brands. Consumers are now more demanding of safety and hygiene practices. The structural shift has increased the appeal of Western QSR brands even further, with their strong focus on consistent and uniform health and safety protocols. India is a large consumption market, and QSR is still significantly underpenetrated in the country, even compared with our East Asian peers. At Devyani, our focus remains on consistently improving the quality and safety of our operations, enriching customer experience, efficient delivery, and strategically expanding our store network in India. As on September 30th, 2021, we operated 309 KFC stores, 351 Pizza Hut stores, and 45 Costa Coffee stores in India. Our total system store count across all our operations stands at 803 stores. Despite the pandemic, we have continued with our growth strategy to steadily expand presence across new cities while simultaneously broadening our foothold in existing markets. We have opened 111 new stores across core brands in 6 months ended September 30th, 2021, despite COVID wave 2 conditions in Q1 of the current financial year. In Q2, we added 68 new stores across all our brands, with 25 new stores for KFC and 34 new stores for Pizza Hut in India. Our long-term focus is on consolidating our presence in key metro cities while tapping into smaller towns, enabling us to take our brands closer to our customers. We have seen a great recovery on the demand side as the COVID-19 restrictions ease and the vaccination coverage improves. Leveraging this demand momentum across our markets, we expect to deliver a strong operational and financial performance. We are also cognizant of input cost inflation across various industries, including QSR, on both CapEx and OpEx side. We have built in multiple layers in our business to mitigate the impact of input inflation, and we hope to deliver consistent results for all of you. With this, I would like to conclude my address, and I now hand over to Manish for his comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Jaipuria. Good evening, everyone. A warm welcome to everyone present on our first earnings conference call post the listing in August 2021. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to present our first financial results post our successful public offering. Since the IPO, the company has significantly strengthened its balance sheet, and we are now a net debt-free company. As mentioned by the chairman earlier, DIL witnessed a very resilient and strong business recovery again in second quarter post-COVID-19 wave 2 conditions, and all of you will be pleased to know that DIL turned PAT positive in quarter 2. We are on track to pursue our strategic growth initiatives with a strong financial discipline and a rigorous focus on operational excellence. As Mr. Jaipuria mentioned before, in quarter 2, we added 68 new stores across our portfolio, with 25 new stores for KFC and 34 new stores for Pizza Hut, and we added another 5 stores in our international markets of Nepal and Nigeria. With this, in the last 6 months, we've opened 111 new stores by adding 54 Pizza Hut and 45 KFC stores. We continue to expand to new cities and have opened stores in more than 20 new cities in the last 6 months. With that, we are now present across more than 175 cities in the country. Outside India, we opened 4 new stores in Nepal and 3 in Nigeria in the last 6 months. Accordingly, as at September 30th, 2021, we operated 351 Pizza Hut stores, 309 KFC stores, and 45 Costa Coffee stores. We also operated 27 stores in Nigeria and another 17 stores in Nepal. The total system-wide store count therefore stands at 803 as of September 30th, 2021. We continue to deepen our presence in the existing clusters as well as increase our footprint in the emerging cities in the country. In our core brands portfolio, metros account for 340 stores as of September 30th, representing 48% of pan-India core brand stores. We have reported a strong business operations and financial performance during the second quarter and half year ended September 30th, 2021. DIL consolidated revenue from operations grew by 124% Y-on-Y to rupees 5.2 billion in quarter 2. The growth was driven by new store openings coupled with solid recovery in demand and consumption following easing of lockdown restrictions and improving macro trends. While dine-in is witnessing strong traction, in-home consumption continues to remain strong. As a result of the above, we've seen a strong traction in our ADS numbers as well as the SSSG growth rates across our portfolio. In addition to strong growth in our Indian operations, our international business also reported healthy performance during the quarter. In India, the revenues grew by 129% to rupees 4.6 billion. On the international front, the revenues registered a sales growth of 90%. As mentioned above, dine-in sales are making a strong comeback and is evident in on-premise sales improving in quarter 2 FY22 to 56% for KFC from 35% in quarter 1 FY22 and 38% in Pizza Hut from 20% in quarter FY22. Please bear in mind that quarter 1 FY22 was impacted because of wave 2 COVID-19 conditions, and therefore there is some element of impact which is sitting in these numbers. To clarify, on-premise refers to the total sales from dine-in, eat-in and takeaway sales. This is little different classification versus what we spoke earlier, where we included the takeaway sales as part of delivery. The off-premise sales numbers now represent pure delivery sales through the food aggregator platforms and also include the sales through our own brand apps. We've done this change in classification so as to enable all of you to be able to analyze our numbers a little better. Our international business comprising of stores in Nepal and Nigeria continue to perform well. Quarter 2 FY22 revenues are rupees 500 million, up nearly 90% Y-on-Y. Gross margins remained robust at 68% for the international business. Coming to the core brand performance, KFC registered a robust performance with a revenue growth of 141% year-on-year during the quarter. KFC delivered a gross margin of 69%, again with a strong Y-on-Y growth. Gross profit grew by 153% and stood at rupees 2 billion. Brand contribution stood at rupees 676 million with margins at 22.4%. Again, a strong year-on-year growth performance. KFC crossed the 300 store milestone and also clocked monthly sales more than rupees 100 crores in this quarter. With this, KFC in our portfolio is a solid rupees 1,000 crore plus brand. ADS for KFC stores came in at approximately 116,000 for the quarter, much better than 68,500 in quarter 2 of FY21, but slightly lower than 118,000 in quarter 4. The slight decline was on account of a little slow post-COVID recovery in July, which was part of this quarter, and the impact of new stores opened during the last 6 months. SSG is 22% during the quarter. Compared with quarter 2 FY20, KFC India system sales are up 96%, backed by strong store adds. Coming to Pizza Hut, which is our second core brand, it delivered on an encouraging performance with a top line growth of 111% Y-on-Y. We have seen healthy results as we move towards completing the Pizza Hut portfolio reorganization. We also launched the Momo Mia Pizza, which has seen very strong adoption and very strong repeat rates, and is already contributing well in the overall sales mix. Gross profit for Pizza Hut stood at 1 billion rupees, higher by 123% Y-on-Y, with margins at 75.5%. Brand contributions stood at 211 million, with margins at 15.8%. We crossed the 350 store milestone in Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut ADS also saw a very strong growth and has crossed rupees 45,000, despite the addition of 54 new stores in the last 6 months. SSG was higher at 73.5% during quarter 2. Please note that there is a small typo error that we've discovered in our presentation on slide number 6, whereby we mentioned Pizza Hut as 76% in terms of Y-on-Y SSG growth rates. Please read this number as 73.5%. Against quarter 2 FY20, Pizza Hut system sales are up 29%, backed by store adds. Revenues from Costa Coffee grew 139% Y-on-Y. Gross profit stood at rupees 75 million, higher by 150% Y-on-Y, with margins at a healthy close to 80%. Brand contributions stood at rupees 31 million, with margins at 33.1%. SSG again in Costa Coffee grew very strongly at 225% during the quarter. Moving towards the company profitability, DIL had undertaken several initiatives in the last couple of years towards restructuring the brand portfolio and rationalizing unviable businesses, which have started to yield good results. We continue to improve upon our overall rent to revenue ratio with increase in the share of stores on flexible rent arrangements and the new stores that are coming at more favorable terms. Our approach now is towards smaller store formats, as we've talked about this earlier, with lower capex, which leads to quick turnaround and faster store development at lower cost. Our endeavor is to maintain and manage unit economics and achieve economies of scale, translating to improved profitability and margins. We have managed the transition to smaller store formats without losing the ADS, and hence on a per square foot basis, our throughput and profitability is much more efficient now than any time in the past. During the quarter, on a consolidated basis, our gross profits increased to rupees 3.6 billion from rupees 1.5 billion, with margins improving by 320 basis points Y-on-Y to 70% in quarter 2 FY22. On a pre-Ind AS 116 basis, consolidated EBITDA improved to rupees 71 million from a mere rupees 93 million in quarter 2 of last year. Reported EBITDA, which is post-Ind AS basis, increased by 225% to 1.2 billion in quarter 2 from rupees 380 million in quarter 2 of last year. This is adjusted for the forex impact in our overseas businesses. Reported EBITDA margins stood healthy at 23.9% of the revenue from operations. I'm happy to share that we've reported a positive PAT this quarter at rupees 46 crores, primarily on account of improved brand performance, new stores, and continued cost optimization initiatives. On the balance sheet front, we are a net debt-free company now. On an external basis, on the whole, the company has a solid financial profile with a net worth of rupees 5 billion before minority interest. We are a negative working capital company and thus are able to generate strong operational cash flows versus our reported EBITDA. We plan to fund our rapid store expansion entirely from the internals as we see the cash flows developing today. Very briefly on some of our key initiatives on social and sustainability side, we strongly believe in the future of food services sector in the country as elaborated by Mr. Jaipuria in his address before. Accordingly, we are keen to impart our know-how and best practices to even smaller entrepreneurs and restaurateurs so that we are able to run and manage their businesses well and sustain and expand the same. This, we believe, will help the entire F&B industry in the country. With that in mind, we launched a KFC India Sahyog program in partnership with the Food Safety and Standards Authority of India, which is a government body. And the objective is to impart training to small restaurant owners in food safety and sanitization practices, thereby improving their business model and processes and enhancing the customer experience. In the first stage, KFC has already trained almost 300 small restaurant owners across the cities of Bangalore, Hyderabad, and Delhi. We've also undertaken a deep sanitization program for these restaurants in view of the customer interest and customer experience and their safety, without causing any additional financial burden on such small-scale restaurant owners. We value their existence and recognize the strong contribution that they can make in future in growing this industry in India. We are committed to support and develop diversity amongst our employees. In this direction, we opened yet another all-women KFC store in Gangtok during the quarter, and this was our 11th such store. We believe there exists many more such opportunities to allow our women employees to play a greater role in the organization. To conclude and to summarize, we've had a great listing and an extremely good recovery post-COVID wave 2. We are a PAT positive company and we are net debt-free company now. With strong operational and financial performance, we look forward to your continuing support in our journey, which we believe will create long-term sustainable value for all our stakeholders. On that note, I would like to request the moderator to open the forum for any questions or suggestions that you may have. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on their touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The first question is from the line of Jaykumar Doshi from Kotak. Please go ahead.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity. Congratulations on a very strong quarter and thank you for a detailed presentation and disclosures. I have a couple of questions. The first one is, could you give some color or throw some light on what is the level of dining recovery that you are witnessing in October, the month of October that you may have witnessed? And, what is the outlook? Where do you think average daily sales for KFC and Pizza Hut can settle as dining fully recovers based on what you are witnessing in the month of October? So that is the first question, and I'll come back with a question once I get.
Well, I think fundamentally after the COVID, the customer has come back, and we are expecting and having a great recovery, and which is continuing even in the month of October. And we expect, unless until there is another COVID wave, there is no reason why the fast food industry will not keep on growing at a pace which has been excellent for us.
And possible to give some quantitative data, as in the level of recovery in dining versus pre-COVID levels, or?
Well, we are back to better than pre-COVID, and that is the only thing I can say. I can't give you numbers.
Jay, I will not be able to give you the numbers, but if you look at our presentation, we've given quarter-on-quarter perspective post-COVID wave 1, and similarly, let's say post-COVID wave 2 in quarter 1 and quarter 2 in the current, in the last 2 quarters. So we are seeing similar recovery trends even post-COVID wave 2 also, but we'll not be able to give you any numbers for October so far.
Understood. Second question is, can you give us some overview of, you've added about 100 odd stores in the past 6 months, 55 in Pizza Hut and roughly 45 in KFC. So, what is the average, store size for these stores and average capex per store for, the stores that you have opened so far in the last 6 months, and which will, I think, continue? And what is the revenue throughput that you're witnessing? I know some of those stores may be still, hardly 1 or 2 months into the business or operations. But where do you think the average daily sales for these new smaller size stores will settle versus your, legacy portfolio?
Well, if you look at it, each brand has a different size of store. So in KFC, our average size we are looking at is between 1,500 to 1,800 square feet. And in Pizza Hut, we are looking at between 600 to 1,000 square feet. So that is what we are looking at, give or take a few percentage points of what is available in the market. Our average cost is close to 1 crore of rupees per store, and this is average consolidated between Costa, Pizza Hut and KFC. Does that answer the question?
Showing some color on
the revenue throughput. So, that partly answers my question. Only thing that is still sort of, if you can help me, is that how is average daily sales both for Pizza Hut and KFC in some of these smaller format stores that you have opened? So, for instance, earlier the legacy stores, some of the legacy stores of KFC were 2,500 square feet, whereas the ones that you are opening now is 16 to 1,700 square feet. Do you think that on average daily sales, both these stores are comparable, or as the new stores mature, will it settle at a similar average daily sales as some of the older stores, like for like adjusted for location?
That's what we are expecting, Jay. And as we said, our ADS average daily sale has been very close to what our sales we had predicted, which was 118,000, and now we are already doing more than 116,000 per day. And in Pizza Hut, our sales have actually gone up from 42,000 to now more than 45,000. So the smaller format has not really reduced the sales, but actually growing the sales. So per square foot, our sales and our realization is much higher. And that is where you see the difference in why our profitability has gone up.
And Jay, just to remind you that, we started opening smaller format stores for the last almost now about 12 to 18 months and not just the last 6 months. So therefore, we stabilized the model very well. We actually tested the model at scale, as I talked about during our IPO roadshows. So therefore, it is not that we are new to the smaller format stores. We've actually opened those, we've tested, we've scaled it up, and therefore now we are opening that in a very swift manner.
Wonderful. And final one, if I may, profitability at a brand level for both KFC, Pizza Hut that we have seen in this quarter should be the base profitability level, right? Normalized profitability.
Yeah, if let's say the normalized conditions were to remain, which is what, let's say, for example, July was a little slow, but if there is no COVID wave 3 and the normalized conditions remain, you can take that as a base level.
That's very good to know. Thank you so much and wish you the very best. Happy Diwali as well.
Thank you so much. To you as well.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Nihal Jham from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you so much and congratulations to the management for this performance. So 3 questions from my side. First, if I look at the recovery for KFC as you've given both versus say on-premise and off-premise, interestingly, while our ADS for Q2 is say back to pre-COVID versus the earlier quarters where say the impact of COVID was much lesser, say in Q4 of 21, the on-premise proportion is still lesser, whereas the off-premise is much more in this quarter specifically. So any specific reasons for the same why delivery has done much better despite the ADS coming back to pre-COVID trends?
So Nihal, if you look at, let's say, on the ADS front, while let's say you alluded to the fact that around quarter 4 it was 118, now it is 116. Please bear in mind that between quarter 4 and quarter 2 that we are talking about now, there are 54 new stores that we've opened for KFC, and obviously the stores start at a smaller level and it takes time to mature. So therefore, if I were to bifurcate our store analysis into core and NSOs, we are in good shape, and the core stores have seen the improvement. At the same time, on delivery, on ADS, you're right that despite the fact that let's say the post-COVID is kind of opening, but the delivery continues to remain strong because if you see some parts of the country are still not completely open. So let's say if you were to look at South India, there are still restrictions in a lot of states, which is where we are strong. If you look at East India, there are restrictions. Similarly, let's say in UP there are some restrictions, Northeast there are restrictions, so those restrictions are still there. Yeah, even let's say in Bombay, for example, although it is not our market, but the restrictions are there. So therefore, as far as that piece is concerned, while let's say visibly things appear to be normal, but still there are restrictions in terms of let's say closing the stores in the night, the nighttime curfews and so on and so forth. So that is the reason why let's say it is still a little bit of deviation versus quarter four. So as things kind of open further and things tend to normalize, we think it'll recover back.
Sure. So Manish, maybe the 70-30 as we generally discuss in terms of the ideal split for KFC post-COVID would be the number you expect this to come back to as things normalize.
Look, it may not be 70-30, but it could settle, let's say, for example, we think as far as delivery is concerned, would probably settle at about 35 odd, which is what is the number we spoke around the IPO time also. But let's see how it evolves. So far, I mean, we continue to kind of remain with that number.
This is helpful. The second question is specifically on KFC and the chicken market. Now, what we notice is some of the existing burger chains, specifically in your key territory of South India, are now wanting to get more into the chicken category by launching bone-in also. What I wanted to understand is that specifically as an exclusive chicken chain that KFC is, what are the key propositions that we have for a customer which obviously helps us get incremental footfalls or doesn't really create a dent on the market share with some of these chains, extending further into the chicken category?
Well, if you look at it internationally, world over, KFC is such a strong brand, and so many countries, different chicken brands have opened, but it has not affected the sales of KFC. Rather, more people start tasting and trying chickens and ultimately come back to the best looking good chicken, I guess. And KFC has done wonderfully against most of our competition or any competition which has ever come. So I guess there is enough market for everyone. India is a large market. If you look at burgers also, you had McDonald's, then you had Burger King come in, but I don't think the sales of any burger has come down. So there's the more, as they say, the more the merrier. I think there is enough scope for all of us, and I don't see it affecting our market as such.
Sure, Jaipur, helpful. Just one last question on the capex guidance and also the store addition, if possible, for each of the brands for this year and for the coming one also, if possible.
Well, as on an average, as I said, it is about 1 crore rupees, and of course it depends on the exact site and location and the size of the restaurant. But on an average between the three brands, it's about 1 crore rupees.
Sure. And how many stores are we looking at, say, adding for this year for the remaining 6 months for, say, at least KFC and Pizza Hut?
Well, our guidance initially was we were looking at about 200 stores a year, and we are doing better than that, and hopefully we should continue doing that.
That is helpful. Thank you so much, and wish you all.
Nihal, we remain with the same annual number, because I know that this quarter is a little higher versus that, but again, as you know, it also depends on property opportunities and so on and so forth. So therefore, on an annual basis, we'll be able to deliver the numbers that we promised.
Perfect. Thanks, Manish. Wish you all a happy Diwali.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vikrant Kashyap from KR Choksey Institutional. Please go ahead.
Thank you for wonderful numbers. And wish you a very happy Diwali to all of the team. Manish, I have a couple of questions. My first question pertains to the Costa Coffee renewal agreements. So while we are speaking that will be 200 plus store per annum, so on the revised agreement, how many stores we are going to open for Costa Coffee, and what is the way forward for it? Because revenue contribution to the console number is very, very less from the Costa. It's a big brand. Or what's our way forward? What's our strategy?
Okay, so Costa, as we talked about, we've signed the revised development agreement only in this quarter. We'll not be able to disclose the numbers which are in the agreement. But if you remember, we talked about a number of about 50 stores between Costa and Vaango, and we stay with the same number for the year.
Okay. One question on your stores. So the new stores that you are opening, how long it will take to make them a significant contribution to console level, and on an average, how long it takes to become profitable?
So we are able to, depending on the location, depending on where the store is, what the store dynamics and the local trade area dynamics are, we break even on a new store in about 3 to 6 months' time. It takes about 15 to 18 months for a store to fully mature, which means whereby it starts performing exactly as the old stores have been performing. So with that dynamics, therefore, you'll be able to see that already the new store openings are making a significant contribution in our top line and bottom line. And that's the reason why Mr. Jaipuri also talked about that despite the fact that on Pizza Hut, we've added almost 50 stores in the last 6 months, but inclusive of those stores, our ADS is up from 42,000 rupees per store per day in quarter four to almost 45,000 per store per day in quarter 2. So therefore, and again, we are seeing very strong tailwinds as we are coming out of COVID. But let's see, we are hoping that this will continue.
Okay, great. And last question with regard to Pizza Hut. So we understand from commentary from the market leader that they are looking for a delivery time of maybe 20 minutes by opening more stores in their city. And our average time is around about 40 minutes. So so what's our strategy there to improve our delivery time and making significant contribution from Pizza Hut to our revenue?
Well, if you see, and that's why we are opening more stores, as our stores are much less in number than our competition. And that is why they are able to deliver much faster than we are. And unless until we open a reasonable number of stores, this problem will continue. And that is which we had already stated in our IPO show, that there will be a lack of time by the time which we reach to a certain level when we can deliver and when we can be on the corner of all this areas where our competition is. So that is a issue, but we are handling it, and people are willing to, who love our pizza, are willing to wait little longer for us, and they are giving us a thumbs up on it, and that's why you see our ADS going up.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen, for answering my question, and wish you best of luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Avi Mehta from Macquarie. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Hi, team. Thanks for the presentation. Sir, just one bit, if I can understand the market a bit, whether the discounting levels have they changed, and if you give any color on the input cost inflation, how are you seeing over that? And second, specifically to our brand, sir, you have called out that the steady state level of delivery will probably be at a higher level even for a KFC. I would have assumed that Pizza Hut that would be the case, but if you could kind of just share your thoughts on why you believe that would be the case. Is this more an industry phenomena? And your thoughts on that would be appreciated. Thanks.
Okay, so on input inflation, our philosophy is that whenever we are faced with any input cost, we take appropriate price increases so that we are able to pass it on to consumers. And that is what we've done so far. That is what our plan is. There could be, let's say, some timing issue in terms of delay here, some bit here and there, but we follow that philosophy broadly, and so far we've managed to stick to that. Secondly, on your question on delivery, what is happening is, if you see QSR as it penetrates more, it is moving from an occasional eating out space to a lot of home consumption. And if there is a lot of home consumption is happening, which is becoming next to staple, obviously we have to cater to the needs of the consumer at their homes. And that's how we are seeing that overall, let's say, the QSR industry is growing the way it is growing. So at the same time, COVID has kind of taught us all the new ways of working, the new ways of home consumption, the new ways of eating in and eating out, and so on and so forth. So nobody knows about the future, but we are seeing definitely on KFC side that people have started to consume or have more consumption at home. we could see these trends in the past as well, and that's the reason we started opening smaller formats for KFC stores almost about 18 to 24 months back. So if you see traditionally, KFC used to be open in about 2,500 square feet to a 3,500 square feet format. About 18 to 24 months back, we started working on a smaller format, and since then we've been opening KFC, as Mr. Jaipuri also mentioned before, anywhere between 1,500 to a 1,800 square feet format. So we could see those consumer trends shifting, and we are absolutely ready for that.
Sir, and so you would kind of argue that the industry itself is becoming a lot more delivery centric, which is why the shares should kind of reflect that. Is the right way to?
Look, last 2 years have been highly disturbed because of COVID, and therefore there are no clear trends which are emerging out. But directionally, what you are saying is yes. To what extent and whether we'll be able to quantify any numbers would be difficult to tell.
Okay, sir. And sir, my question was on the discounting pressures right now. Are you seeing any pricing discounts as recovery pans out, because the competition is also kind of coming back? Is that the case, or is there something that you're witnessing in the market?
No, we don't see any discounting pressure, and I don't think the competition is also discounting. So we are
okay. And sir, perfect, sir. And lastly, sir, I just wanted to understand the annual store addition. I would have thought that we would kind of revisit our guidance because the environment to add stores would have improved. So I didn't quite understand why we are not revisiting our guidance upwards. If you could kind of explain your thoughts.
So if you see historically, and I'm not even going back 25 years, I'm going 10, 15 years, our average store addition every year used to be anywhere from about 30, 40 stores to 50, 60 stores. From where we were, we've already upped the guidance. And we are talking about a store addition of 200 to 250 now every year. So I think we've moved the needle quite a bit. We need to deliver on these numbers. We need to deliver on whatever we are promising to you guys. At the same time, it is easy to open a new store. It is difficult to stabilize also the new store. So that's the reason we are kind of making sure that we are able to deliver on whatever we are talking about, and then we'll see if whether we need to up it or not.
Okay, sir. So right now we should assume 200 for the year with some upward bias. That is how would be the right way to kind of build it. No, I'm not in a way doubting, because it's been a fantastic performance on store additions. It's just I was trying to push you over there, to get some kind of understanding on why.
We are happy to get
no harm in pushing.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot. I wish you the best, and happy Diwali, sir.
Thank you. Same to you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Percy Panthaki from IIFL. Please go ahead.
Hi everyone. Congrats on a good set of numbers. My question was on the margins. I think you've done 15% pre-Ind AS margins for the company overall, is I think what you put in the presentation. And this is driven both by gross margins as well as other costs going up. In fact, as you have mentioned, the ADS is more or less in line with FY20 or just a little bit ahead of FY20. So with similar kind of ADS, your margins have jumped like from around 7% levels to about 15% levels. Just wanted to understand the story behind these numbers.
Okay, if you look at, let's say when we talked about, say, 7% numbers, there were these corporate drags also which were there, and that's the reason you were not able to see the brand performance fully into the company consolidated performance. Because we had loss-making businesses in terms of TWG, which is what we disposed of. Similarly, we had some airports where we used to make losses. We disposed of and surrendered the airport wherever we got that opportunity. As a result of that, the corporate drag has gone away, and therefore the brand margins are fully reflecting in the overall company margins.
But sir, even if I ignore the corporate overheads and look only at the brand margins, there also both KFC, Pizza Hut, I think roughly have seen like 400, 500 bips kind of improvement with the similar kind of ADS. So one of the things I noticed is that in Q4 itself, gross margins went up versus Q3 last year by about 200 basis points. And apart from that, I think below the gross margin also, there are some savings which are continuing, despite I think rental waivers, etc., would have gone away. So just wanted to understand what has happened that the costs have suddenly become so much more leaner in such a short period of time.
So if you were to look at, let's say, Percy, on brand contribution margins for KFC, since you talked about the by brand, in FY19 also, KFC was at about 18% brand contribution margin. Currently, if you were to look at, let's say, FY21, we were at 18.3. In quarter 2, we were at 22.4. In quarter 4, we were at 22.6. Now, this has happened primarily, one, obviously, as we are gaining scale, we are getting the operating leverage. At the same time, during COVID, we actually turned our model of employing people, the store staff and all those, from fixed to a variable model. And that has actually given us the leverage in terms of the overall brand contribution margin. At the same time, as I said earlier, we've started to open smaller format stores for the last almost about 18 months. And now as that is kind of gathering momentum and that is becoming a significant percentage of our overall stores, that is also helping from a rent to revenue ratio also. So those are some of the factors which is helping us as far as the KFC brand contribution margins are concerned. The same story goes for Pizza Hut also, because in Pizza Hut also, we've restructured the brand, we've moved to a smaller format, our ADS continues to remain strong, and at the same time on Pizza Hut also, as far as people are concerned, we've moved to a flexible model, and therefore that is giving us the advantage on brand contribution margins as well.
Okay. And can you give us some idea, the new stores, let's say in the first year of operation, at what percentage of ADS they would operate versus a mature store?
So it takes, as I said earlier, about 15 to 18 months for a store to fully mature. But given the fact that, let's say, Pizza Hut, we've undertaken the brand reorganization, we've done some new launches, we are seeing very good traction on Pizza Hut ADS even for the new stores. On KFC, if you look at, let's say, our core stores and the NSOs are very close to each other. But as a guidance, we would like to talk about, let's say, the same numbers, which is 15 to 18 months for a store to mature. But otherwise, we are seeing very strong traction in the numbers as of now.
Let me just make the question a little more specific. So if your ADS, for example, in KFC is 1.16 lakh, for overall your total, I mean your average number is 1.16. How much would the number be for the stores which are opened in the last 12 months also?
So it will be, that's the reason I said that it's not hugely different compared to the stores that we have. We are not disclosing the separate numbers for the new stores as well as the core stores. But as a general understanding, I can tell you that if you were to look at 116,000 in terms of ADS, the new stores would be about 10 to 15% lower versus that number.
Okay, that makes sense. And one last question, if I might be allowed. If I just try to derive your capex by looking at the plant and equipment in your balance sheet and CWIP and looking at the difference between these two line items from March to September, that is about 77 crores. And for over 100 stores opened, this is only 77 crores of capex, which means per store it is less than about 75 lakhs. Can you clarify why it is so low?
Yeah, so the numbers that you're seeing, Percy, are basically the net block numbers, which is post depreciation, and obviously the current year depreciation would also come in. But let's say when you see our gross blocks, you will see that the numbers that Mr. Jaipuria talked about, a crore, that is the number we are incurring. And at the same time, we have the security deposits, which would sit in this line because that gets classified under a different head in the balance sheet. So that is, and then at the same time, there is some in-depth reclassification also, which takes place on the capex number. So overall, in terms of from a cash perspective, our capex on an average across the brands is about a crore to crore 10.
Okay, and this crore, what would be the split up between KFC and Pizza Hut?
So KFC is obviously a bigger number, but this quarter it is little low because we've opened more stores for Pizza Hut compared to KFC. So last 6 months, if you see, we've opened 45 new stores for KFC, almost 54 for Pizza Hut. That's the reason the number is looking a little lower.
That's okay. I was just asking on a normative basis, KFC versus Pizza Hut, how much would be the difference in CapEx?
Almost 30-40%.
Okay, sir. That's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Participants, to ask a question, you may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Ashish Kanodia from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the opportunity, sir. The first question is in terms of when I look at the brand contribution, are those, the improvement in brand contribution is also a factor of rental waivers which we might have received in this quarter and also in the previous quarters?
Yes, Ashish, you're right. Because, for example, if you look at quarter 4, there are no rental waivers in quarter 1. I'm talking about quarter 2. There are no rental waivers. Quarter 1 had some rental waivers because it was wave 2 conditions. Similarly, quarter 4 of last year, there were no rental waivers, although let's say the initial part of that financial year, there were rental waivers. So, but again, I mean, the quarter that we are talking about, the numbers now, there are no rental waivers.
Okay, got it. That's all from my side. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Reminder to the participants, anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Dilip Taur, individual investor. Please go ahead.
Hi, congratulations on good numbers. I just would like to know that from the IPO proceeds, you said that the company is now net debt free. Would like to know the numbers, that how much we have paid and the out of the proceeds which we have received from the IPO, and how are the way go forwards for the company as far as these numbers are concerned.
So as per the prospectus, we were supposed to pay 324 crores towards debt. We've actually repaid 342 crores against 324 from the IPO proceeds. So we have actually done well and better off compared to what we had raised the funds for. We've actually reduced the requirement of general corporate purposes from the IPO proceeds. So therefore, we are in good shape.
Yeah, I have another question. Are we looking forward, as far as the international business is concerned, to open the new franchisee stores in other countries apart from Nepal and this other country we have?
Well, long term maybe, but at the moment our concentration is India, and I think we have a large job to be done here, and our focus is clearly we will be expanding Nepal and Nigeria in a slow way like we are doing, opening a few stores every year. But our clear focus is going to be India for the moment. And once we open enough stores and consolidate, then maybe we'll look at other countries.
So if you allow me, I have one more question. You said that we are withdrawing from the airports where we need more capital and all expenditure, loss-making stores. Also, if we are taking business outside the airports, don't you think that we will be getting out of the those core brands who are having their existence in those airports where the people, there is a large number of footfalls, so where we get unnoticed from the large number of people?
So let me answer you. We have not withdrawn from the airports. We have only withdrawn from the airports which were non-profitable and where because of COVID it had become totally unviable, and our deals, our percentages were not viable to us. So, for example, the main airports like Delhi, Mumbai, Lucknow, we are still very much there. Hyderabad, we are still there, and we are still expanding in our airports. But we are expanding with certain brands and certain products.
Okay, thank you. That's all from my end. Thank you so much, and wish you best luck.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Gopal Navandar from SBI Life Insurance. Please go ahead.
Yeah, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, very much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the opportunity and congratulations for good set of results. So my question was on the policy which we adopted on employee expenses, making it variable. How long do we want to continue with that policy?
Well, hopefully we want to continue it for long term, because this is the basic policy world over with all QSR restaurants, and we have followed that policy.
Not just the QSR, it is the entire retail industry follows that practice. And if you see in India also, most of the retailers have actually shifted to this format. So therefore, we believe it is here to stay.
Okay. And the second question which I had was on, as more and more people, go out on dining and all, do you see any risk of, revenue contribution loss to us and the QSR industry?
No, there's no question. If more people come out to it, we'll be very happy, because dine-in business will go up, and we don't believe our at-home business is going down. So we are very happy, and that's why you're seeing growth coming, because as people are going out now and they are coming in dining or doing takeaway or sitting down and eating. So both the takeaway as well as home delivery, both are working.
Okay, sure. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Bharat Gianani from Money Control Pro. Please go ahead.
Sir, congratulations on a great set of numbers. Just one question from my side. We are the largest franchisee of the Yum brands, and I guess we have acquired the rights for the southern market for opening delivery stores for the Pizza Hut brand, and KFC we are operating in the southern and eastern India. So just given the whatever rights you have, this is just from a long-term perspective, say a 5 or 7 years perspective. What is the store count you are looking at over a slightly longer run? And the rights that we have got for the Pizza Hut for the southern brand for the southern market, except the state of Tamil Nadu, are we expecting any similar rights in other areas? So if you can just clarify.
No, for Pizza Hut, as we had said, we have the rights for most of the country except Tamil Nadu for delivery. So that is the business which is doing extremely well in the pizza category. And for KFC, as we had mentioned, that we have the rights for the main territories of India where people eat meat. So which is south and east, where 93-94% of the people are chicken lovers. And even in the northern region, we have the major cities in UP as well as the NCR region. And we have the state of J&K, Rajasthan, Himachal, and Sikkim. So there is a large territory we have, and which is some of the main territories where people eat meat and eat chicken especially. So there is a huge potential to grow. The question is how fast we can open and sustain the growth and manage them, and that is what we are doing actually, and that's why you see such exponential growth and number of stores being opened.
So just to rephrase that, for the next 5 to 6 years, do we expect that this kind of run rate of about 200 to 250 stores should be achievable, or do you think that by that time, just trying to understand that the potential is there for next 5 to 6 years opening a similar kind of a run rate of stores?
It should be. If you see our competition, you see their number of stores and we see our stores, we have enough room and they are further opening more stores. So we have more than enough space to open the stores. So I don't see any reason why our numbers should not be looking similar.
Thanks and all the best. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Vikrant Kashyap from KR Choksey Institutional. Please go ahead.
Thank you for the follow-up. Sir, could you please tell what percentage of our stores are in malls, and what is the footfall right now post lockdown reopening?
Kashyap, it's roughly, let's say if you were to look at between malls and high streets, we are equally split. Malls could be a little less than 50%, high street could be a little more than 50%. That is how our stores are split. In terms of recovery, what we've seen, the high street stores were the first ones to recover, followed by the mall standalone stores, and the mall food courts were the last one to recover out of these three. So that is what we've seen. But having said that, I mean, if you were to look at, let's say, I will not be able to give you any numbers, but September, October, we've seen full recovery as far as all the formats are concerned.
Okay.
Even though there are still some restrictions in quite a few states, but we are seeing people coming out and eating out.
Okay, great. And we also seen that you have opened new stores to 20 odd new cities. While we are saying we are really opening stores in our existing places to have deep penetrations to combat the delivery times. So how would be the split of opening new stores into existing locations and new locations?
So we are opening stores in our existing locations also. So if you were to look at our numbers, we've opened within our own metros almost about, let's say, 35, 36 stores, which is a good split compared to the number of stores we've opened. But again, the reason why we restructured Pizza Hut brand and also the KFC smaller format, the objective was to go deep and penetrate deeply into the country, into our existing areas. So we are following that strategy. Again, let's say whenever we plan to open new stores, we ensure that from logistics point of view, they are on the same route so that we are able to kind of effectively service those locations.
Okay. My understanding, don't you think that going beyond our existing locations and opening new stores and new locations will have some impact on our margins as well? Because yes, we have to set up stores on our own, the logistics are challenging, the market is still new for us.
Yes, what you are saying is right marginally, but again, I mean, if you have to expand the brand and the store growth that we are talking about, we cannot just have the same amount of store growth in metro cities only. So we have to look at beyond metros as well.
Okay.
And we typically follow a cluster-based approach, which means we pick up a state capital, we pick up one important city and see what are the cities around it and neighboring, and that is how it evolves. And at the same time, we look at KFC and Pizza Hut being opened together around the same location so that we are able to capitalize on our supply chain advantages.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, that was the last question. I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
Thank you very much to all the participants who have shown their interest in our company and spared their time for the call. We do hope that we have managed to respond to your questions satisfactorily. Should you need any further clarifications or would like to know more about our company, please feel free to contact our investor relations team. Thank you once again to all of you today to join this call and participate in our growth journey. Wish you all a happy Diwali in advance. Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Devyani International, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.